In Exodus chapter 3, we see God's call to Moses. Here's some background. God's people are suffering severely at the hands of the Egyptians. Moses, a Jew who had been brought up in the court of Pharaoh, had tried to deliver his people but had failed miserably. He had murdered an Egyptian and had to then flee from the wrath of Pharaoh. When we operate in our own strength, it tends to cause problems. But Moses is now in the wilderness, tending his father-in-law's sheep that he doesn't even own. He's learning humility. God tends to break us before using us to do great things. Moses has now come to Mount Horeb, also called Mount Sinai, and God has chosen to call out to him at this time. Here's what we see in verses 2 through 4 of Exodus chapter 3. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. So he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. Then Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. So when the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. So God himself is appearing to Moses via a burning bush. And Moses' response throughout this process is wonderful. We see a 4-part response. First, he notices. So the bush is burning, but it's not consumed. This is way out of the ordinary. God is getting Moses' attention, and Moses is intrigued. Second, he turns. He changes direction. He moves toward the burning bush in order to discover what's happening. Third, he focuses. He looks carefully at what he calls this great sight. He's pondering it. And then lastly, God calls out to him, and he says, Here I am. Moses is responding to the call of God. He's open to God speaking to him. We would do well to follow in the steps of Moses. Like Moses, we too need to notice. There may be things way out of the ordinary in our lives. When facing a physical challenge, or a major life change, or a personal crisis, or a curious child who's asking a question about the Lord, it could be that God is getting our attention. Let's not be so busy, or weighed down with worries, or distracted, that we not notice when God is looking to get our attention. In addition, like Moses, we too need to turn. If there's something way out of the ordinary going on, we need to turn toward the Lord in the midst of what we're encountering. Don't turn away from the Lord, and don't ignore the Lord. We need to turn toward him. Furthermore, like Moses, we too need to focus. If God is about to call out to us, we need to give him our full attention. And lastly, like Moses, we too need to respond to his call with, Here I am. Lord, I'm listening. I'm available. I'm willing. Here I am. Please speak to me. I want to hear from you. So we would do well to be like Moses, a humble person who notices, who turns, who focuses, and who says, Here I am. Thanks for listening.